Okay.
So you're getting ready to stream now?
Okie doke. There, I see it. Let's see, am I on there? It's gone black, so that's a good sign. It says that chat is disabled. Are we leaving it disabled?
We're going to leave it disabled.
Okay.
Well, let me see if I can undo it. I will try to get it back. You just go on.
Okay. Well, as soon as I see me pop up. Okay, looks like I'm live again. Am I live? No. Let me see. Wow, that only went 4 minutes and 45 seconds the first time, I guess. Yikes. I don't seem to be able to see it myself, but it does say I'm live on YouTube. Okay, hopefully everybody is actually seeing this. Evidently we had some technical difficulties. Okay, let me see. Thank you. Go ahead. Get that to the right one here. That's not what I wanted. Hate it when that happens. Let's try this again. Okay, well, looks like I might be the only one in there, but so anybody that's watching this later, if you were in the one that cut out, I'm sorry, we had a bit of technical difficulties. So I will restart this again. Again, welcome to Condex presented by Condor. This is a panel to honor H. Paul Honsinger. He was been a guest since pretty much since I started programming. He contacted me my very first year that I was programming Condor 6 years ago. He wasn't with us the second year because he was having health problems, but he was supposed to be and had to cancel. I got the chance to talk with him several times over the years when sitting down at the convention, and he'll be very much missed going forward. We lost him to COVID-19 this summer. He had had a lot of health problems, being diabetic, cancer, and he had reoccurring bladder cancer that he went to the doctor for, and unfortunately, after having to convince the doctors that he was having trouble, it ended up being an emergency surgery, and he ended up contacting COVID-19 while he was in the hospital. He went into the hospital when his symptoms were still pretty mild, and he quickly went downhill from there. H. Paul Honsinger was a military science fiction author. One of his books is available from Mysterious Galaxy, our sponsor. So I can go ahead, I can get that up there for you. So we can, okay, let me go ahead and share my screen. So there we go. To honor you, call us, which is Man of War book number 1. Unfortunately, they don't have the other books in the series at Mysterious Galaxy, but please do, if you are interested, support our sponsor and local bookstore, Mysterious Galaxy. Um, we'd really, we and they would appreciate that. Um, One of my fondest memories of H. Paul Honsinger was him deciding, when I was programming last year's Condor, on our Tolkien track that's usually very with various members of the Mythopoeic Society. He decided to go ahead and join us. It was the topic of that one was why is Tolkien black and gray? Because it really isn't black and white. The evil is evil, and everybody else falls in shades of gray, anywhere from evil to good. So, but evil is truly evil and unredeemable. He showed up a little late to the panel, and he sat down and he was listening to us all, and he sat there in wonder, and he told us, I joined this panel because I wanted to play devil's advocate. He goes, but you guys are so well versed and so learned that I'm learning something. And he just had fun listening to us and asking us questions instead of playing devil's advocate. And it was myself, who was pretty much an armchair Tolkien scholar, and then Lynn Maudlin, who's very much into the Mythopoeic Society, Dr. Stephen Potts, and Professor Michael Underwood, pretty much a bunch of Tolkien scholars up there. And like I said, myself, an armchair Tolkien scholar. And it was a lot of fun having him, thinking he was going to pull something over on us, and then finding out that he wasn't going to be pulling anything over on us, and learning. And he had a wonderful time on that panel, and he really thanked us for allowing him on that. I also that weekend had scheduled one on military going into space, and I know that our current Space Force that has been created is Air Force, but we were pretty much talking about the fact that the structure would most likely, going out in space because of ships, that the Navy structure makes the most sense. It's also what you find a lot in science fiction. So between his background writing military science fiction and being military, and my background from the Navy, and a few others up there, we had quite a good time with that panel. I know from some of my friends that are out in Phoenix that he was very well respected at the other conventions as well, and the posts that I've seen on his timeline, which is of course now memorialized, speak to somebody that is very well missed and people love to sit around and talk with. He was very friendly, he was very open, and H. Paul Honsinger will definitely be missed in the science fiction community, and I'm sad that we will not be having him at any more Condors, because I've really enjoyed having him as one of our guests. I wish we could have had the chat live on YouTube, so in case anybody had any questions, I could answer those, but things weren't working quite well for that at this time. We lost that when we had to restart this. So again, H. Paul Honsinger was definitely a very, very special person, and again, he will be very missed in the fan community and at Condor. And I'm gonna go ahead and get out of the way of that. I wanted to go ahead and bring him up onto the screen as well. So there he is in my background. Maybe I can do it this way instead. I'm still going to get a little bit of there. So again, he was a very, very fun person. He was a very knowledgeable person, and Condor would like to pay the respects to our former guest and a casualty of the current pandemic. And again, I would suggest that anybody, if you're interested, go find his first book at Mysterious Galaxy, and then try to see if you can find the others from other locations.
Janae,
Yes?
we do have a couple of questions.
Okay.
What were, other than military, which is pretty vague and wide, in my opinion, what were some of his books about and what were the themes?
Go ahead and bring up, just to see if I can.
Do you know anything about like his history, like where he came from?
He was in law. He was actually a lawyer, and he was a teacher. Let's see, description. Here's a description of his debut book. The Terran Union is engaged in a vast interstellar war against the Krag, ruthless aliens intent on exterminating humankind. In 2315, the wily Max Robichaux is given command of the USS Cumberland, a destroyer with state-of-the-art capabilities, but a combat record so bad she's known as the Cumberland Gap. Captain Robichaux's first mission to take his warship to the Free Corridor, where the Krag have secretly been buying strategic materials and seize or destroy any ships carrying enemy cargo. Far from the fleet and under enforced radio silence, Max relies on his determination and guile, and the support of the friendship of his chief medical officer and brilliant Dr. Sahin. So basically that gives you an idea of the book that he is his first book. Like I said, I got a chance to actually talk with them, and we talked. Like I said, we had the military panel and how it would go out in space. But I think we talked more about fandom than we did his books, unfortunately. But he was, like I said, he was a very, very gregarious man. He was a very, very kind man, and his timeline and his speak that he did a lot to help children with learning disabilities. He was involved in the Boy Scouts. So this is a man that will be very much missed in his communities, who enriched other people's lives and enriched the lives of younger people. You're muted. But,
You said he did work with the Boy Scouts.
mm-hmm.
Was he like a troop leader, or I don't know how the Boy Scouts work because I'm a girl, but was he like a troop leader, or did he,
From what I was reading on his stuff, he had an organization to help disadvantaged youth get to things. So he was facilitating kids being able to participate.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and like I said, he also on his webpage, I did on his Facebook page, there was a lot about the fact that he was also helping children with learning disabilities and stuff like that. So he was very much, like I said, he'll be very much missed in his. And I really wish I could have gotten some people to post things when I asked, so I'd have more of the stories of those that actually interacted with them in those things. But algorithms being what they are, you can put something out there, but you don't always get a response, unfortunately. So I was hoping, like I said, to have other people's stories, and I didn't get any of those other than what little that I did find.
Well, what are some of your stories other than the one with the Tolkien thing? Um, you said you spent a lot of time talking fandom with him. You know, what kind of fandoms did you talk about?
It was basically the science fiction fan and coming to cons. We sat around when he showed back up, because like I said, he missed our second year, the second year I was programming, that is. And then we had him again when we were at the 4 Points by Sheridan, and we sat around and just general health and fun, and he was just a wonderful person to just talk with. He was friendly, he was open, and even though he's actually fandom has a lot of people who are both liberal and conservative. He was definitely more on the conservative side, but he was somebody on the conservative side that you could talk with and be open with, and so he was just a good person. He grounded in what he does know, definitely grounded in science, definitely grounded in procedure and law, and just somebody who loved being around people. And he also liked to poke fun at his own self. Like I said, he'd been dealing with neuropathy, so most of the time he came still barely able to walk and hobbling around with a cane because the surgeries he'd been having on his foot for quite a while. Neuropathy can be really, really bad in the advanced stages. But despite all this, his spirit, his love of life, he was just out there and really wanted to be part of some, he didn't let it stop him. And even like I said, when he first went into the hospital, he gave us a couple of updates, and then we heard nothing. And most of us actually started to worry and started just putting little things. It's like, are you okay? Are you okay? And we eventually got, like I said, we got one update from his daughter that he was very sick and on a ventilator, and so wasn't able, but they were pretty hopeful. Then they thought he was clear, and then he relapsed because he'd been clear, and they were just trying to get his lungs clear, and they were trying to do a surgery for that, and he caught it again, and they weren't able to do the surgery, and we lost him. So
I do remember that in the early stages of planning this year's convention, we did talk about having him on this year as one of our panelists. So I am sorry that I didn't get to interact with him. He sounds like he would have been a very interesting man. And I have several conservative friends that we have some very rousing debates about political stuff and are still friends at the end of it, in part because we can't set that aside. We can say, this is politics and this is friendship, and the two don't necessarily need to meet up.
And not everybody is on the far right and the far left. Most of us meet in the middle, and we tend to be a little more right or a little bit left, but most of us are in the middle somewhere rather than the extreme edges. So yeah, we can still be friends. We can still have discourse and enjoy and learn from each other. But
so all the stuff that you've mentioned about him, his work with the Boy Scouts, his very gregariousness, and even his conservatism, do you think that plays a part or played a part in his work?
I would very much say so. Military, I'm like one of those. There are more people like me now that are in the military, but the military, on average, is still more conservative, and so that's still very much part of the culture, even though not everybody is there. And I think it's shifting now, where there's more and more liberal type things. But really, the military structure requires people who actually follow rules, and it's a different lifestyle. I've been called a dichotomy by one of my teachers. It was really funny. I was still in the reserves. I was majoring theater and writing, and I was in an English class. And my teacher looked at me and she goes, "You're a dichotomy," because the two things. It's like extreme structure, orders and this and that, and then the very artistic me.
And you would think that that's the same for him? He
I
was
would think
very...
so. I think so, because there definitely seems to be that creative part, and military is very structured, and they don't want. You're supposed to be able to question orders to make sure that they're legal, but they also don't want people that question things too much, because they need you to follow orders, or things fall apart.
Right.
Or people end up unfortunately dead or something. So there's a fine line of, I'm not following that
because it's not morally right.
Right, because it is actually illegal.
Right.
There are such a things called illegal orders. We saw that where they got in trouble during Desert Storm for doing things they weren't supposed to. Or not Desert Storm, but some of the newer ones.
Oh, pick a war. There are plenty of them.
where people did get in trouble early on for doing things that they weren't supposed to. I guess it actually was Iraqi war rather than Desert Storm. But yeah, it doesn't. It's so long ago, and it doesn't seem like it should be so long ago.
Right.
But yeah, you had a lot of problems with people followed orders that weren't legal, but because they started getting more and more people in who just followed orders, where there's some of us from the older guard that were definitely more where they encouraged thought, some free thought. They don't like a lot of it because they don't like to be questioned a lot, but you need some people that can question things and realize things. And I think he did because he could actually sit there and look at things from both sides. But then again, he's also a lawyer, so I think he was in the legal. He was probably in legal in the military, which would make the most sense because he was in legal, so he had to have had that background.
Oh, so he was in the military as well as writing about it, or writing military science fiction.
Yeah, because there's definitely that and writing military science fiction, it helps if you do know the culture, because if you don't know the culture, the rest of us will call you out on it if we have lived in the culture, because that does show. It shows when you know and when you don't know. And if you're writing science fiction, you should have a background in military, or at least have researched it and run it by your military friends.
I think that can be said true of just about anything.
Yeah.
If you are writing something that is not you, you need to A, research it, and then B, run it by people who know it as fact. You see that in a lot of different things. Just, I would never presume. I was a military wife. I do have a military family, so I do have a background in it, but I didn't go into the military out of high school or at all because I don't like it when people tell me what to do. And I recognized that early on, and I was like, this would not be the career for me, because 10 minutes into boot camp, I'd be fighting with my CEO about something, and it would just be bad. But I do recognize that, like, I can certainly write from a military wife's perspective without needing to get other people's opinion on it, because I've been there. But I wouldn't presume to write, like, from a Black perspective on something, because I've not lived that in any sort of a way. So I would write that up, and I have my roommate's Black, so I would hand it off to him, and I'd be like, check this for me. But so that is a good point where, you either have to know it really well because you've researched it, or you have to have lived it.
Yeah. And the different services are a little different. So learning the different cultures. There is differences in the cultures. I know we rib each other about them. Or
Yes.
we definitely rib each other about them. It is a time-honored tradition for military members to poke fun at each other for what the other what each other do. It's of course like
Well, you know what Navy means.
never again volunteer yourself, and I have failed to learn this every single time. That was the first acronym I learned in boot camp. Was never again volunteer yourself. Navy.
And do you know what Marine means?
My ass rides in Navy equipment.
That's right.
And U.S. Army is, yes, my retarded ass signed up because that's what it is when they're staring in the mirror. I've yet to figure out what the Air Force is, and nobody in the Air Force could tell me what it is because evidently they're sticks in mud and haven't figured it out.
Best dressed civilians in uniform.
Except that doesn't actually use their name as a...
No, it doesn't, but that's what they are.
The country club.
The country club. Yes, I come from
it wasn't until they took over the barracks that that everybody had single rooms in the barracks because they literally already their barracks everybody had single rooms in the barracks, and the Navy was still putting them 2 to 3. And then they took over when they did a bunch of joint stuff with everything, and they started putting different things. The Air Force took over the barracks, and all of a sudden everybody got single rooms. So yes, we jokingly call them the country club.
So I also have another question before we, I know this is fairly short because of our technical difficulties, but I do have a question before we start wrapping it up. Do you have this is something I ask at all funerals and wakes, do you have any fun drinking stories?
Do I have any what?
Fun drinking stories.
No, I do not have any fun drinking stories. I'm not much of a drinker, and usually sitting at the conventions, as you know, unless you're sitting in a room party, there's not a lot of drinking going on.
Well, you never know if you're sitting there having a soda with him and, he said something and squirt came out your nose or whatever.
No, I haven't had it. No, nothing like that, unfortunately. I think the last time I had a soda come out my nose, unfortunately, I'd had a cold, and that was on my ship.
Oh.
Somebody made me laugh so hard. Coca-Cola will actually clear your stuffy nose for quite a while, but I don't suggest it.
Yes. A gummy bear will do the same thing, but I don't suggest it either. I'm not going to talk about how I got the gummy bear lodged up there.
I just taken the great big huge, I just, the tip back great big huge gulp when somebody said something, and I ended up, and it literally did, it fountained out my nose, and that whatever was stuffing up my nose, it was gone for weeks.
Well, I am, I'm glad I could help participate in this. It helped me learn a lot about him.
It actually helps having somebody to
talk to. Yeah. Well, I can't say that I will be picking up any of his books just because military books, period, are not something I would pick up. Military science fiction, I don't think is something I would pick up anyway. But it's definitely, if you're into that kind of thing, it is a really good read, it sounds like, and he was a really good person. So
I was really sad. I tried to go to his website, and evidently since he passed, they let it lapse, so his website is gone.
Oh, no.
And like I said, Mysterious Galaxy only has one of the books, so I have a feeling with him gone, I don't know if the family has gone and hit the still publish on a lot of this stuff. I'll probably reach out and ask them if they're going to continue or encourage them to get his stuff out there so people can still get it.
I would encourage them to do it.
I'll give them some time before I sit there and try to.
Well, I would suggest that they do it for at least a year, afterwards, because it is, so many people are going to be paying tribute to this amazing man, and we want to make sure that they have a chance to read his work, which will, in the description, is our link to Mysterious Galaxy. So you guys can go down there and go over to their page where they will have his books, or wherever you can find them. I'm sure you can also probably hit up a library or a used bookstore as well. Not to say that you shouldn't go to Mysterious Galaxy first, but if you can't find
only the first one is available there. So if you if you do need the others, you will have to search outside. But we do encourage you to use our partner, our sponsor, Mysterious Galaxy, which is also our local science fiction and fantasy and horror bookstore. So we really want to support our local bookstore first before anybody goes anywhere else.
Yeah, definitely. So our next event is going to be Janae here reading a short story.
It's a novella. We'll see how much of it we get through. It is the prequel to it's Ned and Song Twins, which is the prequel to Ned and Song Bloodbound. It's the first of two prequels because I ended up going backwards after writing the first one, and they're all short, novella to novelette length. So they are self-published because they are in that in between. We're too long for the periodicals and we're too short for traditional publishing, so I didn't shop those around at all. They're simply self-published because of their length.
Okay, so we'll see you over on that link in just a couple of minutes. Hopefully we won't have any more technical difficulties.
Hopefully not. Thank you for jumping in and helping me with this, because
of course
it is kind of hard to do this in a vacuum.
Well, I'm glad I could help. And then I also want to remind people to look at our merch store, our vendors, and our website just periodically to see what else we have going on. All right.
Okay, thank you very much, and see everybody at the next one, where I'll be reading you a story.
All right.
And thank you, and
all right.
Fair winds and following sea to H. Paul Honsinger.
Yes. You can't. I can't do it right, but in this little screen. But you guys get the idea, right?
That's the Boy Scout. All right. Oh. Yeah. There's something
from.
Else. I don't think so.
From no.
Oh,
from the Hunger Games.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I just can't. I can't extend my arm, otherwise it goes away. Anyway, yes. May the odds be ever in your favor.